What up, baby? It's Akira The Don. This is Don Studios. This is me. I'm here in Don Studios. I got my good friend Marcus with me. I got my good friend Bobblehead Bob Ross. You can't see him, but well, you guess he can. He's little. He's Bobblehead Bob Ross. Shouts out to everyone who's been enjoying these mixes so far. And shouts out to the people who are complaining about the crazy camera. No crazy camera for you anymore. This week we're filming on a potato. Shouts out to the potato. Anyway, yeah. We're about to get into it with something brand new. This is brand new from me and your boy Joseph Campbell. First function of Songs of Mythology, the album about to drop.
Consciousness has other notions of how things ought to be, what virtue is, and so on.
And so on. And so on.
One of the problems that man has to face is reconciling himself to the foundations of his own existence. And this is the first function of mythology. And this is the first function of mythology. That reconciliation of consciousness with the mystery of being. And this is the first function of mythology. Not criticizing it. Shakespeare, in his definition of art in Hamlet, where he says, art holds the mirror up to nature, is a perfect definition, I would say, of the first function of mythology. When you hold the mirror up to yourself, your consciousness becomes aware of its support. What it is that is supporting it. You may be shocked at what you see. You may be greatly pleased. But one way or another, you become aware of yourself. Your consciousness becomes aware of that darkness, that being which came into being out of darkness and which is its own support. And this is the first function of mythology. This is the first function of mythology. That reconciliation of consciousness with the mystery of being. And this is the first function of mythology.
Akira The Don. It's got colors.
Hey.
When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they can't tell good from evil. But I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own. Not of the same blood or birth, but the same mind, and possessing a share of the divine. Not of the same blood or birth, but the same mind, and possessing a share of the divine. So none of them can hurt me. No one can implicate me in ugliness, nor can I feel angry at my relative or hate him. We were born to work together like feet, hands and eyes, like the two rows of teeth, upper and lower. To obstruct each other is unnatural. To feel anger at someone, to turn your back on him, these are obstructions. Yo, discard your thirst for books so you won't die in bitterness, but in cheerfulness and truth. Grateful to the gods from the bottom of your heart. Grateful to the gods from the bottom of your heart. Discard your thirst for books so you won't die in bitterness, but in cheerfulness and truth. Grateful to the gods from the bottom of your heart. Grateful to the gods from the bottom of your heart. Discard your thirst for books so you won't die in bitterness, but in cheerfulness and truth. Grateful to the gods from the bottom of your heart. Grateful to the gods from the bottom of your heart. is that I am. It is flesh, a little spirit and intelligence. Throw away your books. Stop letting yourself be distracted. That is not allowed. Instead, as if you were dying right now, despise your flesh. A mess of blood, pieces of bone, a woven tangle of nerves, veins, arteries. Consider what the spirit is. Air, and never the same air, but vomited out and gulped in again every instant. Finally, the intelligence. Think of it this way. You are a whole man. Stop allowing your mind to be a slave, to be jerked about by selfish impulses, to kick against fate and the present, to mistrust the future. What is divine is full of providence. Even chance is not divorced from nature, from the inweaving and infolding of things governed by providence. Everything proceeds from it. And then there is necessity and the needs of the whole world, of which you are a part. Whatever the nature of the whole does and whatever serves to maintain it is good for every part of nature. The world is maintained by change in the elements and in the things they compose. That should be enough for you. Treat it as an axiom. Discard your thirst for books so you won't die in bitterness, but in cheerfulness and truth. Grateful to the gods from the bottom of your heart. Grateful to the gods from the bottom of your heart. Discard your thirst for books so you won't die in bitterness, but in cheerfulness and truth. Grateful to the gods from the bottom of your heart. Grateful to the gods from the bottom of your heart. Discard your thirst for books so you won't die in bitterness, but in cheerfulness and truth. Grateful to the gods from the bottom of your heart. Grateful to the gods from the bottom of your heart.
Underlying and supporting the everyday practical world, there have to be certain alterations in one's common sense. Now, there are certain ideas, and beyond these ideas, certain feelings that are difficult to get across, not because they're intellectually complicated, not at all because of that, but because they're unfamiliar. They're strange. We haven't been brought up to accommodate. In exactly the same way that in past times, people knew that the planets were supported in the sky because they were embedded in spheres of crystal. And if they weren't embedded in spheres of crystal, and of course you could see them because you could see through them, they would fall down on the earth. And now when astronomers finally suggested that there were no crystal spheres, people felt unbelievably insecure. See? They had a terrible time assimilating this idea. Now, do you see what it involves? To assimilate a really new idea, you have to do quite a flip. For example, there's some people whose number systems only account for quantities. 1, 2, 3, many. So they don't have any concept of four corners to a table. See, a table has many corners, and a pile of pebbles is, in that sense, equivalent in manyness to the four corners of the table. Now they have difficulty, you see, in beginning to assimilate the idea of counting through and numbering all those corners or all those pebbles. But we've done that. So to us that is perfectly simple. But imagine the kind of mentality, the kind of person to whom that is not simple at all. But now in exactly the same way, there is here what I'm trying to explain, a new idea that most people don't assimilate. And that is the idea of the total interdependence of everything.
Yeah. What's Wave 6 upcoming 2020? What's Wave 6 2020? This here is from Joseph Campbell album. Yeah.
Now the third function of a mythological tradition is to validate and maintain a certain moral order. Now these moral orders greatly differ from one society to another. For example, the requirements of a primitive hunting community are very, very different from the primitive planting community. What is required of the young men and women is in each case quite different. Likewise, in a complex society of differentiated tasks with professional doctors, medical men, astronomers, scientists, governing people, trading people, all of these coordinated in one society, we have a quite different social problem, quite different moral problem from that of a simple primitive community.
The individual must be shaped. He must be made to react in the way that culture wants. The individual must be shaped. He must be made to react in the way that culture wants.
And so there is this variation from society to society in terms of the social order. Now some of these social orders are extremely ruthless and fierce in their requirements and extremely narrow in their demands. Individuals may be thus divorced, separated, so to say, from their own nature. Read some of the descriptions in the anthropological works of the primitive initiation rites. What is done to the young people in some primitive societies in order to test their courage, in order to integrate them in the social group. Now most societies are extremely dogmatic and fierce in their integration of the individual. The individual is born as a separate entity. He is carved up, so to say, and made to fit into a pattern that the society requires. It doesn't require a total man, it requires a part man. Not an individual, but a dividual. Someone who has been divided up and put into a knot.
The individual must be shaped. He must be made to react in the way that culture wants. The individual must be shaped. He must be made to react in the way that culture wants.
This happens in the most primitive societies already. Nature produces this wonderfully rich field, full of possibilities. The society, and you cannot blame society, it requires a certain specific limited type. It's got to have that, otherwise it can't exist. And so the individual is, so to say, carved into shape, scarified, his teeth knocked out, his body is changed, so that he'll know, I'm a member of this group, not that group.
The individual must be shaped. He must be made to react in the way that culture wants. The individual must be shaped. He must be made to react in the way that culture wants.
The individual must be shaped. He must be made to react in the way that culture wants. The individual must be shaped. He must be made to react in the way that culture wants.
What's the answer to the meaning of life? 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 Here's an answer. What's the answer to the meaning of life? What's the answer to the meaning of life? What's the answer to the meaning of life? Here's an answer. I was trying to solve this terrible puzzle about how it was that human beings got themselves in such a tangle about what they believed. Such a tangle that we were pointing the ultimate weapons of destruction at one another, which, by the way, we are still doing. I thought, okay, well, I understand that. We need our belief systems. They orient us. And that means there will be conflict between belief systems, and that can be a catastrophe. And that's being played out everywhere, again, in very many ways. What's the solution to that? Well, one possibility is there's no solution. It's just mayhem all the way around. Could be the case. But it seemed to me, as I delved into it, that the proper solution to that was to live properly as an individual.
You're more powerful than you think.
Way more powerful. God only knows what you are in the final analysis.
You're more powerful than you think.
Way more powerful. You're blind to your own weaknesses, but you're also blind to your own strengths. And so then I think, well, if you've got your act together, it'd be better for you, and instantly better for your family, assuming they wanted you to get your act together, and not everyone does. And then it would be better for the community. Like, how far could you take that? If you stopped wasting time, and if you stopped lying, and if you oriented yourself to the highest possible good that you could conceive of, and you committed to that. How much good could you do? Well, I would say, why don't you find out? So, that's what I think you should do. You should find out.
You're more powerful than you think.
Way more powerful. God only knows what you are in the final analysis.
You're more powerful than you think.
Way more powerful. You're blind to your own weaknesses, but you're also blind to your own strengths.
You're more powerful than you think.
Way more powerful. You're blind to your own weaknesses, but you're also blind to your own strengths.
You're more powerful than you think.
Way more powerful. You're blind to your own weaknesses, but you're also blind to your own strengths.
What seems a good thing today turns out tomorrow to have been a disaster. What seemed in the moral and spiritual sphere too, like great virtues in times past, are easily seen today as hideous evils. Let's take, for example, the Inquisition.
In its own day, among Catholics, the Holy Inquisition was regarded as we today regard the practice of psychiatry. You see, you feel that in curing a person of cancer, almost anything is justified. The most complex operation, the most weird surgery. People suspended for days and days on end the end of tubes. With X-ray penetration. Burning. Or people undergoing shock treatment. People locked in the colorless, monotonous corridors. Mental institutions. In all good faith, they knew that witchcraft and heresy were terrible things. Awful plagues, imperiling people's souls forever and ever. So any means were justified to cure people of heresy. We don't change. We don't change. We're doing the same thing today, but under different names. We don't change. We're doing the same thing today, but under different names. We can look back at those people and see how evil that was. But we can't see it in ourselves. So therefore, beware. Thing today, but under different names. We don't change. We're doing the same thing today, but under different names. We don't change. We're doing the same thing today, but under different names. We don't change. We're doing the same thing today, but under different names.
History is just a 25,000-year dash from the trees to the starship. History is just a 25,000-year dash from the trees to the starship. And while it's going on, it's wild and woolly. But it only lasts like that. And then you're in the starship. 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 Because we are like bacteria or something in the shortness of our lifespan. To us, 25,000 years, you can get lost in the middle of that and you can't see either end. But from the point of view of a species, it's just instantaneous. History is just a 25,000-year dash from the trees to the starship. History is just a 25,000-year dash from the trees to the starship. 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 From the trees to the starship.
You see, for me, superheroes will always spark the imagination of people around the world. Around the world. Around the world. Around the world. Regardless of their background. Because I think that people are always looking for something that represents the ideal person or the ideal situation. You know, almost all of us have loved fairy tales when we were young. Just remember stories of giants and witches and wizards and monsters and things that were so colorful and bigger than life. Bigger than life. But then you get a little older and you're too old to read fairy tales. But you never outgrow your love of that type of story. That type of story. But you never outgrow your love of that type of story. And if you think about it, superhero stories today are really like fairy tales for grown-ups. The characters are bigger than life, just like in fairy tales. They have the same type of superpowers. Some can fly, some are extra strong, some can be invisible. It gives the viewer and the reader a chance to relive the excitement he or she had when they were young. When they were young. They're really reading fairy tales for grown-ups when they read or when they see superhero stories today, and that's why I love them so. And that's why I love them so. You get a little older and you're too old to
Please come in. 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 One side of it is a pair of scissors. What is it on the other side? Utter softness, utter receptiveness. On the other side, it's... But on this side, it's... Please, 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 please. Yes. Welcome. And everything's fixed on that. See? It's this way. Sharpness, teeth, biting, spines, crab shells, all that kind of thing, you know? On the other side, it's the melting softness of life. Please come in. 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 One side of it is a pair of scissors. What is it on the other side? So, if you see that, if you get that principle, you can feel yourself not sort of just rattling around in the world as a kind of somebody who's been stuck down there, but you can feel yourself going on in absolutely exact relationship with everything around it. Please come in. 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 One side of it is a pair of scissors. What is it on the other side? Please come in. 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 One side of it is a pair of scissors. What is it on the other side?
Yeah. Shouts out to Anna Ross. My gang. And live records.
Akira.
Yeah, this is from the unreleased Gary Vee album. Oosh. Exclusives.
You're either on the offense or defense. You're either on the offense or defense. I think a lot of people think they're in the middle. And it's transitive. They're only on the offense or the defense. I've realized that I've been on the offense my whole life because I never felt entitled to anything. An incredible thing happens when you're born with very little. You know, I was born in the Soviet Union, we come to America, I live in a studio apartment in Queens. My parents bought me 6 toys in my entire life kind of thing. We took one family vacation in my entire life. When I wanted Nintendo, my mom looked me dead in the face and said, good, go buy it. On the flip side, she reinforced things that came natural to me and made them the most important things. While I was getting D's and F's, and every other immigrant parent was making their kids get A's and B's because they thought that's what mattered, my mom was accelerating anytime that I showed compassion, anytime that I showed empathy, anytime that I showed gratitude. You're either on the offense or defense. You're either on the offense or defense. I think a lot of people think they're in the middle. And it's transitive. They're only on the offense or the defense.
One thing I might mention, most writers, and I think it's an unfortunate thing, they try to write something that they think think a certain audience might enjoy. I've never been able to do that because I can't put myself in the mind of other people. I only know what I enjoy. So every time I've written a story, I've always tried to write the sort of story that I myself would enjoy reading. The sort of story that I myself would enjoy reading. A story that would interest me while I'm writing it, as I'm waiting to find out what happens next. And I can't know what other people think, but I can know what I think. I can't know what other people think, but I can know what I think. And I feel I'm not that unusual. If there's a type of story I like, there must be lots of people who like the same type of stories. Therefore, I have always written to please myself, not to please a certain type of audience. The sort of story that I myself would enjoy reading. The sort of story that I myself would enjoy reading. Because you can't know the audience as well as you know yourself. And if I write a story that I'm enjoying while I'm writing it, and I can't wait to see what happens next, then I'm hoping that a large proportion of the public will feel the same way and they'll enjoy it too. So to sum it up, I have always tried to please myself, not other people. And somehow it seems to have worked, because I guess I'm not that different than other people. I've always tried to write the sort of story that I myself would enjoy reading. The sort of story that I myself would enjoy reading. The sort of story that I myself would enjoy reading. The sort of story that I myself would enjoy reading. So good luck to you. Thanks for listening, and I really enjoyed talking to you. Excelsior!
Go in to your imagination.
Go into your imagination. Go into your imagination.
I was at the Museum of Art in New York. I was in this amazing room, it had all these priceless paintings from the late Renaissance hanging in it. Each painting worth, who knows, $1 billion maybe. They're priceless paintings. The room it's a shrine, and it was full of people from all over the world who were looking at these paintings. You think, well, what the hell are these people doing coming to this room looking at these paintings? What are they up to? What are they doing? You don't know what that means? Like, why are they looking at that painting? Why is it in this room? Why does it cost $1 billion? Why is that painting worth so much? And the answer to that is, well, we don't really know. They're sacred objects in some sense. We gaze at them in ignorance and wonder. that the unknown shines through the madness and in partially articulated form. Well, that's the role of art. And that's the role of artists. Well, that's the role of art. And that's the role of artists. Real artists are contending with the unknown, right? And they're possessed by it. They have a personality trait, openness, that makes them do that. They can't even help it. Makes them do that. They can't even help it. The worst thing for creative people is to not be creative because they just die. So one of the things I would say is buy a damn piece of art, you know? Find one that really speaks to you and look out if you do it. If it's a real piece of art, because you'll also get a little introduction to the artist, and then that'll seep into your life. That'll change things like mad. But it's unbelievably worth it because it opens your eyes to the domain of the transcendent. That's the right way of thinking about it. A real piece of art is a window into the transcendent. That's what it is. In the absence of the sublime. You can see that integral to our culture is the idea that beauty is one pathway towards God. And if you can't find another pathway, then why don't you use beauty? I'm sure most of you do that with music. Because music is the one thing that modern people can't be cynical about. Thank God for that. And so we need to understand the role of art and literature and stop thinking about it as an option. It's not an option. What is it said? Man does not live by bread alone. That's exactly right. We live by beauty. We live by literature. We live by art. And literally, not metaphorically. We cannot live without it because life is too dismal and tragic. Well, that's the role of art. And that's the role of artists. Well, that's the role of art. And that's the role of artists. Real artists are contending with the unknown, right? And they're possessed by it. They have a personality trait, openness, that makes them do that. They can't even help it. Makes them do that. They can't even help it.
So, thank you very much, and I hope that you find these programs that we're developing useful and practical, and that they help you put yourselves together and lead productive and meaningful and high-quality lives with the least amount of tragedy and suffering possible. That would be really good. So, thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Hey, MEANINGWAVE live from Don Studios with MORROW. Shouts out to you and you and you and you and definitely you, Hey, yo, thank you everyone for being here. This has been a MEANINGWAVE live presentation as previewed on ThinkSpot and available to watch probably on YouTube and certainly to listen to on all of my Patreon channels. So shout out to everyone who is a patron of the Wave. You're funding meaningful content and a meaningful experience. We'll be back. Same bad time, same bad channel. Thank you for being here. Mwah.